Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Good evening, afternoon, morning to you. It is November 3rd, 2019. The time is 12:47 here, p.m. on the East Coast. I heard it was daylight saving time, so shout out to that. I didn't actually know. But shout out to everyone. Pat yourself on the back if you woke up today. Just be happy. Everyone take a deep breath. Let it out. Welcome, guys, to the podcast, the Daily Broadcast podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about connection. We're going to be talking about connection today. So if you have any requests, any topics that you have, please let me know. Send me a text. Send me an Instagram, DM, Agent K21 podcast, or Agent K21 on Instagram or on Twitter. Let me know your topics. If you want to be featured on the channel, if you want to shout out, if you want to do something, I don't know, just hit me up. Let me know. Let me know what it is, and we will get to it. So today we're talking about connection. Connection. You know, originally today I was going to talk about Jesus is King, Kanye West album. I was going to do an album review on that. And I listened to the album and I was like, I don't have nothing to say. I don't have nothing to say. Nothing. But I'd love to know if you've heard the Kanye West album, your thoughts on that. I'd love to know what you're thinking and how it made you feel. If you like it, if you dislike it, what you liked about it, what you disliked about it. I was going to do an album review, but I was like, I don't got nothing much to say. And so I'm going to talk about connection, source, the universe, and God. That is what I'm going to talk about today. So I hope everyone's having a great day. Hope everyone is enjoying these podcasts. And if you are, continue to listen. If you're not, continue to listen as well. So let's get right into it. Connection. All of us need it. All of us want it. All of us have it. Connection is always there. We are always connected to our higher self. Your higher self is your intuition, your instincts. They are always with you. They may have been nulled out by the voices of others. They may have been not fully developed because of the voices of others and the voice of the world. But rest assured, you're always connected to your higher self. He doesn't leave you. So if you feel alone, if you feel abandoned, if you feel just unseen, unheard, connect to yourself. Connect to yourself first and foremost before you can connect to anything or anyone else. Now, I had this, the way I get these revelations or epiphanies, they're so visual. So I had this thought about connection. And I realized we all need connection. That is number one priority. It's a psychological law that we need connection more than we need some of our other survival things, such as food and shelter. We need connection. So don't deny yourself connection. Go get connected. Go plug in. And that brings me to the first thing I thought about when I thought about connection. I thought about the source. You know, I personally use the source, universe, and God interchangeably, but they are all very different. All very different, but I use them interchangeably. I don't really consider myself religious. I consider myself spiritual because I think religion divides, and I don't think that is... We've been divided and conquered so long. That's not what we're doing anymore. I think it's all about togetherness and unity and harmony. And I think that connection serves that purpose because anything that wants to divide is out of a selfish intent. That's not our true nature, is not divided. We are whole, we are one being. And so connection, I was thinking about it like this. Have you ever listened to a Bluetooth speaker? You listen to either your headphones or Bluetooth or whatever. Now, the source that is coming from is the phone, the speaker, the source. It's the main hub, right? But the further you get away from that, the more distorted the connection gets until it's eventually lost. And I started thinking about this thing because I'm listening, have my headphones in, but I left my phone wherever I left it. And I'm walking away and I hear the connection breaking up. And I'm like, okay, that's my indicator that I've gone too far, that the connection is starting to unravel. The connection is starting to break apart. So can connection be lost? Absolutely. Absolutely. We lose our connection to ourselves first and foremost, and we have to reconnect to ourselves and for ourselves. And one way we can do that is through meditation. Another way we can do that is through activity, any type of Kundalini awakening, any type of activity, moving the body, also getting into the flow state. And maybe I'll talk more in depth about the flow state, but getting into the flow state, best way to think about it is a river or a waterfall going downstream. You can resist what's happening in your life. You can resist it and try to swim upstream, or you can just let that shit flow. Just let it flow right all over you. Let it flow, let it go, let it flow. And when you go with the current, when you get swept up in the current, not the current of events, but when you get swept up in that flow current, you're really able to let go, let it be. You're not in resistance. You're not fighting what is. You're at peace with whatever comes. You know, you see a grass moss, you're like, hey, what up? You see a fish, you're like, let's swim. You just go with it. You know, you don't try to control it. And a lot of us want control. A lot of us want to know. We want to figure things out. But you can't. Just let it go. Let it flow. Let it be. One good way to get into the flow state, again, is activity. So if you're playing sports, I never was really a big sports person, but if you're playing sports, you're not really thinking. You're kind of just moving. You're throwing the ball, you're hitting the ball, you're doing whatever. You're swimming, you're acting, you're doing whatever. You're letting it flow through you. And for me, one way I get into the flow state, I like to dance. I like to play music, especially when I'm playing like the piano or the guitar. I'm not thinking about what am I playing? I'm not thinking, am I playing the right notes? I'm not calculating, I have to play A, B, and C, and G together. No, I don't really do that. I just kind of play. If it sounds good, it sounds good. If it doesn't, then I just need to go a half step over. And that's basically how I operate. So that is when you really, flow state really helps you manifest your dreams and really helps you not take life so seriously. Like, just chill out. Like, come on. But connection can be lost. Now, it takes two to keep a connection, but it only takes one to break a connection. Now, the best analogy I can think of is, say, for example, you have two people holding on to one string, right? Two people holding on to one string. That is connection. That string, that line is connection. Those two people are holding on to it. But one person says, you know what, I got to go to the bathroom. And they let go of that string. That connection is now broken. That person is gone. But they still have that one person holding on to that other side of that string. So they're connected, but what are they connected to? They're not connected to what they used to be connected to anymore, because that source has left, has moved on. The cloud has moved. And so it takes two people to maintain and to keep a connection. But it only takes one person to break that connection. So if one shifts or one moves, the connection can easily be broken. And so I did an episode about bonds can be broken. I think some of us come into this life and think that we're bound to the garbage that our parents hand us, or to the life that we think we're supposed to live, or it's always been this way, so it's always going to be that way. No, wrong. Doesn't have to be that way. You can change your life at any moment. Any moment you can change your life. It's not going to be easy, but it's not impossible. And so connections can be broken. Bonds can be broken if we choose to. We all have that greatest power that we all have is free will. Now, how we wield that free will is totally up to us. So anything's possible. Anything is possible. And so when you have one person holding on to a connection that has gone, that is how we get into one-sided relationships. That's how we get into unrequited love. That's how we get into narcissistic and codependent relationships, because you have one person holding on to what they think is a connection, when that other person is over there eating a bag of chips, watching TV, not holding on to that string anymore. And you're like, oh, I'm pouring all this energy into this string that's going nowhere, that's going down the toilet. So that's how you don't use that's how you, I don't want to say waste energy, because energy is not wasted. It can be recycled, but that's how you put it to use that's not really serving. And so what you want to do is you want to grab hold of that other side and you want to connect it back to yourself, because connection to yourself is eternal. That's never going anywhere. So when you put all of your connective energy back into yourself, you can replenish yourself and you can really move forward without any outside source. So another lesson I thought of back in the day, I might be telling my age, but I don't care. Back in the day, I had this boombox. It was a gift. I got it while I was in Japan. It was a gift. It's a Christmas gift I got. Now, this boombox, I loved it. It had a tape deck and it had a CD player. And that was like the jump back in the day. Like, what? I got a tape deck and a CD player? Can't nobody say nothing to me. I got both of them. So what I would do was at night, I would plug my boombox into the wall, into the source, the power outlet. That is what we all are. We all connect into that power outlet. I would connect my boombox into the power outlet, and I would play my music, and I would DJ for me and my sibling, and I would just play all this music for us, especially like at night, because we listen to music going to sleep, and I would play this music, and then when it was time to say I wanted to go outside or do something else, I would unplug from the source. I would unplug from the outlet, the power outlet. And the cool thing about this was it had batteries. So I could unplug and I would have those batteries, right? But the thing about batteries, they don't last that long. And eventually you have to plug back into the source. And so I got this, I was thinking about this and I was just like, wow, you have to disconnect and connect to the source. That is your stable, grounded power right there, is connecting into the source, connecting into a power outlet that houses everything. And if that power should go out, you have those batteries, you have those backup batteries. But the batteries are not the source. The batteries are a temporary source, temporary outlet of source, but it's not the actual source. And the way I thought about it in my head was so much clearer. And I just visualized this whole thing of just most of us are running on batteries. We run on batteries, and maybe we'll take the batteries out and recharge the batteries, connect the batteries to the source while we sleep. But we don't actually plug ourselves into the source, into that power outlet. And so, the illusion is that we can run off batteries. And then that's when we start to break down, because we think we can just run off these batteries, but you got to connect into a source. Now, what is source? Source energy, source consciousness. Source is that higher self that I mentioned earlier. Now, how do you tune into your higher self? Well, if you don't know yourself, it's going to be very challenging to tune into yourself. And so a lot of us don't want to know ourselves. We want other people to tell us who we are, or, I won't even try to guess. We just don't know ourselves for a whole list of reasons. We just don't. It's no one's fault, really. We just don't know ourselves. But once you get to know yourself and get to be at peace with yourself, if you have trouble, just sitting in a room by yourself, and you feel that you need to distract yourself, you need to, be on the internet, you need to grocery shop, you need to mentally go somewhere else, then that's kind of an indicator, maybe I just need to sit with myself. And personally, being an introvert, I don't really know if I'm an introvert. I'm like an introvert extrovert, but I like to be by myself and connect to myself. And so when you connect to yourself, that's where the pot of gold is. That's where visions are realized. That's where you really get to see. And now I also like to journal. I like to write. So if I'm connecting to myself and I'm having a hard time, like just being at peace with being by myself, I'll start to write. And then I'll write, get everything out of my head, and then I'll just sit. And I'm like, that's interesting. And so your higher self is always available to you. Your higher self is always waiting and listening and perceiving and there for you. And, for those of us who distract ourselves, there are many distractions, many distractions. And it comes from a fear of trusting ourselves. When we trust ourselves, we are able to sit with ourselves because we're not afraid that we're going to harm ourselves. We're not afraid that we're going to abandon ourselves in any type of way. But because we've become distrustful of ourselves. And because we've allowed other people to do things, we've become distrustful of ourselves. So sitting with yourself is not an easy process. So if you initially get distracted, fret not. That's normal. And that's perfectly okay. Because we've been distracting and numbing ourselves of pain for years and decades. And when you start to sit with yourself, you're going to start to feel yourself. Do you feel yourself? Do you feel it? And when you feel it, it's going to be, you're going to feel all the feels and all the things you tried to get away from. And it's easy. It's so easy to run from ourselves. And it's so much harder to sit with ourselves. So connecting to source, connecting to our higher self requires a level of vulnerability, a level of intimacy with ourselves that requires us to disengage from everything else and to take our own extension cord and plug it right into the power outlet. And it can be a highly intense experience. And you can reach your source by prayer, by meditation, by affirmations, by all these different things. There's so many ways to get there. But what's important is that you get there on your own path, on your own travel, on your own time sheet. Because there are so many ways that we can get there through, using YouTube and all these other chants and all these other channels. But that's still someone else's connection showing you. And there's nothing wrong with getting help. If you're looking for any type of help, I do offer counseling. That's been said before. So there's nothing wrong with getting help. But the power lies is within you. It's always been within you. And we have to really be okay with looking in. And so that was kind of my biggest things about source. I was thinking about the Bluetooth connection being, you get too far, the connection breaks. I was thinking about running off of batteries and not connecting to the source. And I was thinking about that it takes two to maintain a connection, but it only takes one to break a connection. And so those are my things I thought about on connection. Now, the next thing I thought about was the universe. Now, I said I use the universe interchangeably with source and God, but they're very different. The universe is a set of principles. The universe is governed by the planets. Now, when I was younger, I was so obsessed with the moon. I didn't know. I was always obsessed with the moon, the sunset, the sunrise, the stars. I took one of my people on a date to the planetarium. That is a date to me. That is fun. Okay, so I like stuff like this. I was always into science and astrology and to some degree. But the universe is always working. It's always governed by the 12 laws that govern the universe. Now, when you want to really start operating with and not against, get into the 12 laws. And I'm going to just briefly say what the 12 universal laws are. And then we can kind of go from there. Maybe I'll do a whole episode on this. But the 12 universal laws, oneness. I did a whole episode on oneness. Season 1, episode 3, I talk about oneness. Oneness is a universal law. Vibration is a universal law. It's basically your vibrational match. Okay, correspondent are patterns. Attraction, the law of attraction, the law of mirroring, the law of action. Activity breeds activity, right? Transmitting your energy. So it's basically everything is always in flux, You can always change anytime. Cause and effect. The law of cause and effect. I think that's one that we mostly know. The law of compensation. You reap what you sow. The law of relativity. How do we know what good is from evil and evil from good without the law of relativity? The law of polarity, There's a saying, opposites attract. Opposites attract like magnets. And there's also a saying, birds of a feather flock together. Now, for a long time, I was very unclear on that because a little detour here. Growing up, I was like, opposites attract. That's, that made sense. And then I got to college and it was like birds of a feather flock together. So I'm like, so I shouldn't be looking for my opposite. I should be looking for birds of a feather flock together. Well, to each his own. But opposites do attract. Opposites also repel. So the law of rhythm, the law of cycles. Okay, things happen on a cycle. I talk about in my rambling episode of Roots, I was talking about the law of cycles and noticing patterns in my own life. The law of gender, which is masculine and feminine energy, yin and yang. Now, what most of us don't know, or most of us do know, is that we all have masculine and feminine energy derivative in us and always operating in us, no matter what gender you are. We have dark and light within us, masculine and feminine within us, yin and yang. And so those are the 12 laws of the universe. So a lot of people can get really misunderstandings about astrology and about planets and everything. To me, everything is everything. I love nature. I love the planets. All that stuff is so important. My thing is, and it goes into connection to God. If everything that's made, I don't take anything for granted. So if it's made, it has a purpose. Regardless if I can see it from my limited perspective or not, I choose to look for that purpose. And I challenge you to choose to look for that purpose too. So even something that you think has no purpose, I challenge yourself and say, what is the purpose of this? And so God to me is not man or woman. God to me is not black or white. God to me is they. God is and both. God is they to me. And I could do a whole episode on what God is or is not. And I mentioned in the opening season here that I'm going to talk about, things like the great I am, things like the censoring of the three, and talking about God in general. But God is whatever you make it. And I used to think that it was sacrilegious to say I am God. I have a new understanding of that because I am. And I feel like the real religious groups are going to be like, huh? How dare you? But God is you. God is me. God is in everything. God is consciousness. God resides in everything. So I don't think that it's offensive to God when you say I am God, because God is you. You are. We all are. And I think what happens is, what becomes offensive though is when you want to pull a Kanye West and you want to say I am a God, because that makes you separate out of God. Everything that exists is in everything that exists in creation is connected to the Creator, and it goes back to that oneness. nothing exists without its opposite, and nothing exists that isn't already in existence. So everything is everything. And I can talk more in depth about that, but I just want you all to know that connection is important, and we are all connected through love and through pain. We all suffer in this life, and we all have joys in this life as well. And so to diminish one or to act like one does not exist over the other, it's not really doing anyone a service. So feel your emotions, appreciate them, and explore them. We want to push away the sad emotions or the dark emotions and only highlight the positives. Well, that's an imbalance, and that's not reality. So embrace all the emotions that come up. You don't have to stay there. Just validate them. Give them purpose. They have a purpose if they're showing up. So express that. I think that I've gone on for a little bit longer than I thought I would. But I want to leave this with you, that it's okay to get connection, and connection to yourself will flourish in all other areas of your life. So connect to the Creator, whoever that Creator is to you, and connect to yourself. And know that I am here for you all, and that today is going to be a great day. This week is going to be a great week. And I will see you all on the next broadcast. Oh, and I might be featured on someone else's channel. I'll give you details about that in the near future. But I hope everyone has a great day. And like I said, we're going to keep rocking with these podcasts. If you have any topics, you holler at me. And I hope you all have a great day. Until next time.